Hello everyone, and a warm welcome for today's event, Sustainability by Design. We are so happy to welcome you all, both here at Kunsthal Charlottenborg, but also all of you participating online. Thank you. My name is Maiken Kjeldhave, and I'm the Executive Director of Creative Denmark. Creative Denmark is a public-private partnership, not-for-profit, established to create awareness about the creative industries and the strongholds within the creative industries. We are fostering relations between international stakeholders and Danish solutions, stakeholders, competencies, and products. The aim is to create awareness about the Danish strongholds within the creative industries, and today within the fashion industry in Denmark. So a warm welcome again. The aim of the event today is to launch our new white paper, Sustainability by Design, that we have created in a strong partnership together with Danish Fashion and Textile, together with Lifestyle and Design Cluster, together with Wear and many others. Today we want to create a platform for solution sharing, discussions around the role of thinking, design thinking to create more sustainable processes within the fashion industry. We are pleased to carry out this event in collaboration with Copenhagen Fashion Week, our strong partner in crime, with the aim of creating awareness about sustainable solutions and celebrate the power of creativity. So a warm welcome. We have a tight schedule today, so without further ado, I would like to welcome our first keynote speaker, Mrs. Bettina Hagerup, who is Director of Markets at the Danish Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Bettina.
Thank you, and thank you for the introduction, Maiken. It feels good to be in the presence of real people, not just online. Let's hope this is the start of being real in real events again. So thank you for the introduction, Maiken, and for the Creative Denmark for the invitation. I'm happy to introduce this discussion that concerns all of us and concerns all industries. I think we are facing some of the same challenges. We need to address our impact on the planet. Climate changes are forcing us to rethink the way we operate our businesses, not in the future, but right now. At the Danish Chamber of Commerce, we believe that Denmark and the Danish companies can be at the best in the green transition. We also believe that we will be a key element in reaching our green goals and secure a new growth across the Danish business landscape, especially in our exports, strongholds such as the creative sector, and indeed in the Danish fashion industry, an industry already ahead of doing a green transformation. This is also why the Danish Chamber of Commerce is strongly engaged in both financially and politically in supporting initiatives such as Creative Denmark and promote the strong Danish fashion industry. And this matter is a key concern, not only for the fashion industry, but for all industries. How do we make the necessary changes to reduce the impact on our climate? With 13 billion kroner in sales and 28 billion kroner in export, it's undeniable that the fashion industry is a great and powerful industry, and is why we are here today. To make sure that the fashion not only continues to grow and expand, but also does it in a greener and more sustainable way. The good thing is that we can make a difference if we act now. And a lot of companies already have taken the first step down that right path. Take, for instance, Ganni, that they managed to accelerate the use of sustainable fabrics across the season from just 4% in July 2019 to 52.5% August 2020. A big change in a very short time. Rockamore, another example, They recently launched their first biodegradable pair of heels. And we know a lot of other businesses are also working very hard and have come a long way to be more green, more sustainable, and more fashions will follow. Another thing that makes and helps companies stay motivated is the demand from the consumers, investors, and politicians. Sustainability is on top of mind in the EU with the European Green Deal, and the EU aims to reaching the climate neutral continent in 2050. On top of the consumers are also becoming more digital. The level of transition needed and the speed of which it must be done offers a challenge that I can understand can seem enormously. There is no question that being digital and innovative are key for success and making the industry more sustainable. So I will wrap up these welcoming remarks by encouraging all of you to continue the good work along these tracks. The creative business sector and the fashion industry know how to inspire us and inspire each of us, and will find inspiration and innovation for sustainable industry and a future, even though it's still a lot of work to be done. We need our creativity to drive our common sustainability. And once again, a warm welcome to all of you today.
Thank you so much, Bettina, for your inspiring words and also for underlining the need for change and how creativity can be a part of driving this change within the fashion industry. Next speaker today is Cecilie Thorsmark, our CEO of Copenhagen Fashion Week. Welcome to the stage, Cecilie.
Thank you, Maiken, and Creative Denmark for having me, and thank you, Bettina, for your opening remarks. And welcome, everybody, for the first day of Copenhagen Fashion Week. In the past year, I've often been asked, how do you create change at Copenhagen Fashion Week? And although I do tend to give some long answers from time to time, I'm looking at my chairman, I do have a short one, and it is that we create change through partnerships. In all that we do, we depend on a close collaboration with partners. From the curation of our show schedule, to all of the services that we're able to provide to the industry, but also to our very ambitious sustainability work. It requires at least one trustful and competent partner to help make everything come to life and to create change. A year and a half ago, we launched our Sustainability Action Plan, which presented very concrete targets for us to work with. But the most radical one being the minimum sustainability standards that we'll be introducing in 2023, and that all brands then will have to comply with in order to be a part of our Fashion Week. And we didn't do it alone. Our 2023 sustainability requirements were developed and launched through a very close collaboration with our consultancy in Futurum, our Sustainability Advisory Board, and some of you are here, an international panel of experts, as well as the global engineering company Rambo. And today, I'm not going to go into depth with the actual requirements, but what I want to highlight is the potential of these requirements to drive systemic change that I couldn't agree more with you, Bettina, that we need urgently in the industry. And because the way that we know a Fashion Week is that, a Fashion Week would not normally try to impact the strategy or the operations of decisions being made along the value chain of a brand. A Fashion Week would feature brands based on criteria such as design, fashionability, runway potential, and so forth. But we decided to use our role as a big platform and our power in another way, to demand actual sustainability action from brands. And since the launch of this in 2020, even more partnerships have followed. And the biggest one, back in February, we announced the partnership with SIF, the biggest trade fair, who announced that they too will implement the 2023 sustainability requirements and make it mandatory for all of their exhibitors from 2023. This year, also, the government-funded program Fremtidens Tekstilkrav, Textile Requirements of the Future, which is supported by the Ministry of Business and Financial Affairs. They selected our requirements as well to provide the framework to train 50 Danish companies to lead to further action. And that particular case is what I find to be a great example of public-private partnerships that we have in Denmark. The industry needs support to advance, and vice versa. I'm guessing government, politics need the industry. And another example is obviously this partnership that we have with Creative Denmark, which also connects private stakeholders and public partners to create a platform for solutions, and hence the white paper that you are sitting with today. So let's hope for many more of these type of fruitful partnerships. Been very happy about this one, by the way. Now, moving the lens away from Denmark, I am beyond excited to announce today, as we commence on day one of Copenhagen Fashion Week, that we're entering into a new collaboration with the Norwegian fashion industry. So it's the industry organization, the Norwegian Fashion Hub, and the fashion and arts event festival called Oslo Fusion Festival, who have both decided to also implement our framework with the sustainability requirements, so making them mandatory again for all of the brands that they're working with. Now, this expansion of our framework beyond our borders, it's not only an immense step for us at Copenhagen Fashion Week, as it proves it proves the potential to scale this model, to export another Danish model, but it also sends out a very strong signal for our industry to keep working together, to pursue solutions together, and to take action on sustainability at a larger scale. And I believe, at least for all of us Danish people, if you were listening to the radio yesterday, as the UN climate report was released, hearing the Minister of Climate, Ernst, several times saying that if our alarm bells weren't ringing already, then this report should really make them roar, loosely translated. But fashion is one of the biggest contributors to CO2 emissions globally, and no way we can tackle that on our own in our individual businesses. We have to do that through partnerships. So with those words, I would like to thank all of you for listening in, and I wish you a good fashion week for those of you who are off to a bigger program these coming days, and hope to see you out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecilie, for your always inspiring words, especially on the partnership part, which I totally agree on, both nationally but also internationally, as you underline. Our next and last keynote speaker today, we have the privilege to welcome Federica Macchioni, the CEO of Global Fashion Agenda and also the writer of the preface in our white paper. Welcome to the stage, Federica.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Federica Marchionni. My pronunciation, not easy. And good morning to everyone who is online. We will speak to them too. We are sorry not to have them here, but hopefully the situation will be better. Thank you for your words, Bettina. Thank you for your words, Cecilie. Both of your words really resonate with me, and it makes me feel very optimistic about what we can achieve with the right intention, leadership, and cooperation. I totally agree on partnerships. And as leader, we have the responsibility to use our influence to create positive change that will benefit the planet and the people on it. That's why earlier this year, I've decided to relocate to Copenhagen and take the lead of the global fashion agenda. First, because after a long career in the fashion industry as an executive global leader for fashion brands and e-commerce platform, I really sensed and felt an urgency to lead something more impactful, driven by purpose, as I'm trying to live and work. And most importantly, because Global Fashion Agenda, with its mission and renowned summit, made Copenhagen the capital of the sustainability in fashion. So I needed to come right here. Global Fashion Agenda, as you know, is indeed a leading nonprofit organization on a mission to make sustainability fashion first priority. It established top leadership publications such as Fashion on Climate, Fashion CEO Agenda, provide guidance to the current state of the industry and how it can progress. As organizer of the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, GFA has been driving sustainability movement over a decade, convening leaders and solution providers across the world to address the most urgent sustainability issue. This year's summit is focused on prosperity versus growth, as we strive to create a thriving industry which provides prosperity for all people and communities, working within planetary boundaries, reverse its impact on climate change, and protecting biodiversity. Fashion industry is such an engine for global growth and development. But the current model, as we've been hearing, is pushing the earth beyond its limits and challenging also social justice, as not everyone tackles these issues, but for us is also important. So we must rally with other industry, because one of the things I'm trying also to see is also the comparison between the fashion industry and the other industry. Who is better? From who we can take examples and take best practices to put into consideration and drive more change. Most importantly, how they measure, how they impact, what they've been doing so far. So to me, this is very important, and these are few changes, but meaningful changes that I'm trying to drive into our agenda. As we've been hearing from Bettina this morning, from Cecilie, from everyone that is set to participate at the COP26 conference, everyone is asking for bold changes and immediate action, because time it is now. Why? We need to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions to align with the 1.5 degree pathways over the next 10 years. The fashion industry shall intensify the effort. So designers have a key role to play. All of you can do something as we're striving, and I'm sure that you also have great intention. So with the intention, the leadership, and the cooperation, we can all make it. As I expressed in the white paper, fashion design is an opportunity for expression, for creativity, for style, but with it, it comes a responsibility to design for benefits our precious world. The product life and impact are fundamental considerations that are very often forgotten in the early stage of design. But it is that stage that is impacting for over 80% of all product-related environmental impacts. So this is an area where we can make an impact. Also, prolonging the life and minimize the impact of the product are very important, taking into consideration that in design. So just to give you two simple examples on how you can help make this impact. I know the issue is very complex. So some of us keep asking, what can I do? How can I really make the change? Because now I'm observing that for someone who are the leaders, we need to pass from advocacy into implementing the sustainability into your organizations and into your business. First of all, as we keep saying and we keep hearing, we need to call for a systemic change into the linear fashion business. In fact, one idea can be that designing with sustainable materials that can be responsibly sourced, so where the source of the material, require less resources to manufacture, so from the phase of the materials to the phase of the manufacturer, and then have that product broken down to be used easily into the supply chain again. And second, as I was saying, it is very important, crucial to design with longevity in mind. Consumer will be able to wear the product for longer and eventually resell. We've been hearing that there is a call for the circular economy, and this is actually what is needed also for meet the Paris Agreement. 1 out of 5 garments needs to be retraded and be introduced into the circular economy. These are just a couple of examples of how we can improve sustainability performance. Ultimately, as we're saying, cooperation is key. And I'm seeing a room full of great talent and creative people. I can see a little bit from your looks also. And that is what we need to do. Rally together, cooperate, and work for a systemic change. The very last things I would say is that we are coming out, hopefully soon, from a very tumultuous time. But I feel optimistic, as I was saying, because this is an opportunity to reset and challenge ourselves more than ever before. And as an Italian, I am thrilled to be here in Copenhagen to experience a Copenhagen Fashion Week, which is becoming the front runner for sustainability standards among all other fashion week we've been hearing from Cecilie. This is what GFA have been pushing for over a decade, and I'm truly honored to be a witness of such results. I wish you all a wonderful fashion week, and I look forward to seeing you in our summit in October. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Federica, for your thoughts on leadership, collaboration between sectors, and impact. Next up, in a short moment, we will be back with our panel discussion on a lively discussion about how creative design thinking can push forward sustainability in the fashion industry. So stay tuned. We have Kristoffer Dahy Ernst, Editor-in-Chief at Euroman, with us as moderator. Thank you.
Jakob, styr på side.
Er der nogen rækkefølge?
You have to be in the middle.
I have
two guys. Two guys and...
How do you know I'm a girl?
Let's see.
Thank you very much. Maiken, my name is Kristoffer Dahy Ernst. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Danish magazine Euroman, and it's nice to see you all here today. I'm truly excited to be here also along with the panel to talk about sustainability by design. I would like to start with introducing Ulla Ræbild, Associate Professor and Program Manager for the Design for Planet at Kolding Designskolen. I would also like to introduce from Germany, Thimo Schwenzfeier, is that correct?
Very good.
Who's the show director of the trade fair Neonyt from Germany. And also, last but not least, Nicolaj Reffstrup, who is the founder of Ganni, the Danish fashion brand, who is truly going global. To begin with, I would like Ulla to start with you. We know that over 80% of all product-related environmental impacts are determined during the design phase. How do you believe that we can use design to drive forward sustainability in the industry?
Well, what I do in Design School Kolding, of course, is research into these new systems and ways of designing. And I'm first would like to say I'm honored to be invited in here, but also I'm very aware that I just sit with one piece of the puzzle and we all have to lay that puzzle together. But saying that, also in lieu of the new climate report coming out, we can't keep shuffling materials around. We have to reduce the production of new stuff with minimum 75%. So what does that actually mean? It means we have to change the way we create value and change completely from a linear system to a circular one. And in order to make that happen, and make that happen fast, of course, you have to use design very cleverly in many, 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 many ways. There's not just one way to figure out how we can derive value from a product over time with multiple types of users, multiple, you can say, services, many forms, from product to material to fiber and back again. So what are the things we actually put into the system to begin with? How can they perform for us in our lives, where we also change and have new needs during our lifetime? And at the same time, make a more diverse system that caters to needs in a completely new way. Because there's so many people that actually don't really sit well in the existing product system that we can service for and make really much happier about themselves and their lives with garments. So there's so many opportunities, and that's actually what we're looking into in design research as opposed to fashion research. We try to work closely with industry and with all the different partners and actors in this, and we can only generate this change if we stick together and actually bring the knowledge together and start moving on it.
And that's what we're doing now.
And that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Thimo, from your perspective from Germany, and also representing a trade fair who is based on sustainable principles, you told me that a brand that is represented at the trade fair has to be 70% sustainable. Is that correct? And then you have some different ways of measuring that. From a German perspective, how do you see, could you give us your take on sustainability in design?
Absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me. I must say that from a German perspective, Denmark is always a role model when it comes to sustainability. So it's kind of weird for me to tell you guys how to act more sustainable. But in fact, I mean, it's an interchange, and I'm really happy to have the chance here. I think when it comes to sustainability by design, we have to consider 2 points. The first point is talking about the material resources, where it comes from. There's a good starting point of how to work with sustainable materials, sustainable sources, with organic cotton, with tencel, with lyocell, and so on and so on. But in fact, just the availability is a critical point here. So what we have to do, what the designers have to do, is to rethink the whole process of how to design goods and how to design products. And I mean, the good thing is that we can see that the whole design thinking process is absolutely changing for better. That we can see a rescaling of business models, that we can see how agile processes are really changing the industry, and that especially the younger designers and the universities are forcing this kind of change a lot. So the people have to change no matter what, no matter how. And there are a lot of role models, and I'm really happy about it. And I love that you said values, because at the end it's about value a lot. When I stick to the fashion and textile industry especially, we have one main issue according to my very own understanding, and that's the value of textiles. It's the value of garments. We forgot how many people are involved in the production process of a t-shirt, for example, and we forgot that it's about the human beings. I don't know if some of you had the chance to go to Vietnam or to Bangladesh to really see how the people are working there, but if you have been there, if you have seen the people, if you have seen the, sorry to be such emotional, but if you have seen in the eyes of the mainly women producing our goods, you can clearly say that we have to change for better, and the design process is really responsible for this change, because when the designer is thinking about what kind of materials we are using, what kinds of production processes we are referring to, the change is already made, and then the consumer at the end has the chance to really go for a change of buying. And I think this is one of the main important aspects we can see. And the good thing is that there are a lot of initiatives already happening. But I always feel, and I said that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we are kind of at the starting point. So I really hope that in few years I can say by heart that it's not that we are on a starting point, that we already have changed something and that we have achieved some changes altogether. And that's why I'm also, again, really happy to be here, because as some of the keynote speakers already said, it's all about partnerships, it's about co-opetition. I don't care if it's about like Germany, France, UK, Denmark, whatsoever. We can only change the whole industry if we stick together. And I think that it's what it's all about.
Nicolaj, I know that you have devoted the majority of your working life now to creating sustainable solutions in your company, but also in initiatives surrounding your company. Is it possible for you to name a single initiative that had driven change? Is there an example of something that you have done that has not upended the industry, but changed something for the better?
Yeah, I think sometimes you should be careful not just trying to find that like light bulb moment that kind of change everything. There's no kind of solution to solve all our problems. It's very much a kind of daily grind, like putting a lot of projects, or launching a lot of projects, aligning them in the same direction, and then just grinding through it. However, I think the most important thing is that we haven't touched upon here is that you need to put your money where your mouth is. And anything related to sustainability is gonna cost you money, no matter what politician says or what your shareholders require from you. And there's no immediate ROI on what you're doing. There might be a brand equity ROI if you're good at kind of having your marketing engage with the end consumer and build storytelling around what you do, but there's no immediate, there's no money to be made. So first of all, I think in general, design companies are perfectly positioned to drive change forward. Like we're great at storytelling, we're good at enticing the masses, and we're actually fairly progressive and open towards change. And still we lag a little bit behind. And I think we need to kind of be careful not to blame too much on an opaque supply chain that we don't control, or an end consumer that might be interested and aware, but isn't really kind of putting her money where her mouth is either. We need to kind of look at ourselves. And although designing for circularity is very much about the design team, I think you need to broaden the scope big time, because it starts with the shareholders. Like if you don't have shareholders that prioritizes circularity, then you won't get anywhere. Then you need a CEO that drives that change forward. Then you need your marketing department to engage with stakeholders, and especially the end consumer. You need your merchandise planners to accept lower margins for a while at least. You need finance to help you strike an agreement with an up-and-coming new supplier of innovative materials that has a product that's not quite market ready, but you need to support them by striking maybe a 3-year agreement. And then you need to engage with like third-party suppliers of innovative solutions, the materials providers, the re-commerce platforms, the rental platforms. You need to find players from the industry that can collect, sort, and recycle your dead garments, etc. And ultimately, you need to put everything you do out there for your stakeholders to audit what you're doing, because next to there not being any money to be made immediately, the second biggest problem is that there's no auditing taking place. It's not like a financial report where there's an annual auditing of your performance. Here you can do whatever you want, and nobody will kind of follow up on what you do. The only way to solve that is like putting it out there, be extremely transparent about what you do, let your stakeholders judge you, and then you cannot go back either. There's no reversing what you're doing if you put it out there, and it will be tempting because it's costly.
Right.
That's my 5 cents.
Ulla, I would like to ask you, do you see, as an associate professor at Kolding Designskolen, do you see the younger generation be more willing to change, or do you actually see them driving the change instead of the older generation?
There's definitely a change of ethics and values in the younger generation, and they push all the difficult questions. And they also actually, of course, now I run a program that is about how we drive the change and what are the competences they need to make this happen from where they sit. But you can say that they also tend to find ways to actually bypass the linear system. So they go out, because we don't design sustainability isolated, it has to sit together with understanding how we can create value in new ways. Because those two things has to go together, the design and the way to make money. And so they start up their own stuff, or they seek new types of partnership, because for them it's illogic to try and sometimes go in and work against some management that actually don't believe in change. And it's not that they don't want to go into the struggle. If there's a willingness to change, then they want to go in and work and really feel passionate about, because everyone loves this. They love garments, they love designing, they love working, they love the whole business. But they really can't work in an industry that they feel is so wrongly put together. So as humans, they try and find ways forward where they can really bring the joy out, but also be part of creating, showcasing how we can do things differently. So actually doing what they're saying, and using their creativity to be inventive about new business.
Thank you. I know the schedule is a little bit overdue now, and just as a final remark, I would like Thimo to ask you, since you are in touch with so many different brands, what is the sort of the story that you continuously tell, examples of a brand or companies who are doing something differently well? Is there examples that you always put forward to inspire other people or other companies?
Well, the great thing is that there are so many examples that sometimes we just don't have the time to tell all the stories throughout the days we have at Frankfurt Fashion Week, for example, even Copenhagen Fashion Week, whatsoever. I mean, there are some big trends we can really see, and a lot of companies are following that. As Nicolaj just said, for example, circularity, cradle-to-cradle principles is a big thing. It's not only a trend, it's really changing the system. And I can see that more and more brands are into it, more and more designers are into it. They are asking, okay, how can I do, or how can I receive a cradle-to-cradle gold standard? What should I do? How can I interact here? What kind of capacities, what kind of resources I need to do so? We can see that digital fashion, virtual fashion aspects, they will have a big impact when it's about using or not using of materials, of resources actually, but data. I mean, of course, we always have to rethink the usage of data, because sending data around the world is also having a carbon footprint in a negative way, but still it's better to send data instead of sending real goods when it's about samples and so on. So these are the big trends. And then, last but not least, the biggest trend for me, and this is something what is really key, and also when it's about partnerships, when it's about cooperation, competition, transparency. We need to be more transparent in what we are doing. We need to show how we are doing things, and we need to ask why is someone not transparent? Why is a company trying to hide something? And if a company is trying to hide something, we have to act, because then something is going wrong completely. So transparency is maybe it's a buzzword right now, but I would try, I want to try to make it a standard instead of a buzzword. It should not go away, same as sustainability, it should not go away. Even we have to reinvent the way of how we see and how we define sustainability. For example, 10 years ago, for us, sustainability was completely different. The requirements you just mentioned for Neonyt 5 years ago were completely different of how they are today, and they will be different in 2 years. But transparency is the key of sustainable-driven design, of sustainable-driven eco-models or business models. And this is something we really should focus on, and especially as a consumer, as a prosumer. If a brand, if a product cannot tell you the transparent story of the production itself, don't trust it. Right.
Let that be the closing remarks. I know this was probably the shortest panel talk you've ever been to, but I know that the schedule is super busy today and we're already over time. So thank you very much for coming out. I hope you have a nice fashion week. Thank you so much to Creative Denmark, to Mike and Rebecca and the entire team. Please see the Sustainability by Design white paper. I know it's available on all digital sources. Thank you very much for coming out. Thank you to the panel. Thank you.